Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining me on this super rainy Friday. Get some deep stretching in. I've already got my Cosmopolitan prepared, waiting for me in the fridge, nice and cold. See who's on. Hi Jamie. Hi Alex. Hi Tyra. Hi April. Good to see you. Hi Adam. So we'll get started in just another minute or so. Hey Bree. So I've got my pillows like I have every week. I have some blocks. I also have some socks because it's super cold in my house. I don't know about you guys. But I am planning a lot of deep holds this week. We were a little more mobile last week, so we're gonna be on our mats. So feel free to maybe grab some socks, maybe some fluffy ones with the sticky parts on the bottom. That's what I have. So you can use those whenever you want. Maybe grab a sweater or a blanket, because as you're relaxing and cooling down here, your body temperature can drop. So you want to make sure you're feeling toasty and you can actually relax your muscles. Well, if you're just way too cold, it's just not gonna work. So grab anything you need, and then we're gonna go ahead and get started in child's pose. So meet me there whenever you're ready. So we're gonna have our big toes together to touch. Knees out nice and wide. We're gonna start to open up the hips here. You're gonna lay your torso down onto the ground, onto your mat. Fingertips out nice and long. Just release the forehead down. If this isn't quite so comfortable for you, you can always grab that pillow, place it underneath the sit bones. You can place the pillow underneath your torso, your forehead. Whatever makes you feel nice and relaxed. Just close the eyes here. Start to focus on the breath. Nice deep inhales through the nose. Longer, slower exhales through the nose. Eventually moving into that Ujjayi breath. We're going to practice that throughout class today in our long stretches. And I invite you to start counting with your breath. Taking a nice deep inhale for the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold on empty. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll take 2 more rounds just like that. Go ahead and count within your own head. I'm sure no one wants to listen to me count for another minute or so. So when we're holding those deep stretches today, those long holds, it's something that we can work on, something we can focus on, keeping us from wandering with the mind or feeling agitated. Take a nice full inhale here. Stretch those fingertips towards the top of your mat. And we have 2 options here. You can either reach over towards the right side, take a side body stretch, or if you'd like to get into the shoulders, come into thread the needle, sliding that left arm underneath the right, coming down onto the shoulder, the ear, so your left arm is nice and long. Right arm can reach forward towards the top of the mat, or you can come into a half bind, reaching for the left hip. Whatever feels good for you. Wherever you're at, maybe you're in that side stretch. Continue to press your sit bones back towards your heels. Try to stay nice and centered rather than dumping over to one side. You can even continue to close the eyes here. Just focus on what you're feeling. Taking 3 more cycles of breath here. Coming back through center, releasing whatever pose you're in. Just stretch those fingertips out nice and long. And then switch sides, reaching over to the left or coming into thread the needle, right arm and shoulder. Cheeks coming down to your mat. Just taking a notice here of the differences between your two sides. Not making any judgment, but simply noticing. Maybe this is something you can come back to later when you're not on your mat and make some minor adjustments. Five more full, rich cycles of breath here. See if you can relax a little more through the upper body. If you're in thread the needle, release the cheek towards the earth. Release wherever you're at, coming back into your child's pose. Neutral through the spine. Take 3 breaths here and focus on your intention for your practice. Once you're ready, rise up to tabletop. Bringing your feet hips width distance apart. Maybe tuck the toes, giving your ankles a counter stretch here. Fingertips spread out nice and wide as we come into a few rounds of cat-cow. Inhale, drop the belly towards the earth. Open up through the heart. Exhale, round through the spine, chin to chest. Inhale, arch the shoulders and sit bones up towards the sky. Exhale, draw the belly in, round through the spine. Continue at your own pace. Feeling free to move the hips side to side, barrel roll. As you start to warm up the spine. Doing whatever feels right for you. Maybe pausing at any points of stickiness. Holding here for a full cycle of breath, if that feels good to you. Take one more round wherever you're at. And then meet back in a neutral spine. Lift your knees off your mat. Step your toes closer to your feet, or step your toes closer to your hands. Come into ragdoll pose. Reach for opposite elbows here. Taking a generous bend into the knees. We're just getting warmed up. So you let the back side of the body open up, stretch here, maybe rock side to side. One more full cycle of breath. Release your grip on your elbows. Inhale, halfway lift, flat spine, gaze forward. Exhale, fold a little deeper. Inhale, sweep the arms up, overhead. Fingers come to touch. We're gonna start to warm up the spine. Breath to movement. So inhale, reach up nice and tall. Exhale, release over to the right. Side body stretch. Inhale, back through center. Exhale, over to the left. Inhale, back through center. Exhale, cactus the arms. Inhale, lift the crown of the head up towards the sky. Exhale, mini back bend. Squeeze the lower body together as you press those hips forward, shoulders come back. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, hands come in front, come into a C shape, rounding through the shoulders. We're gonna repeat that sequence. Inhale, reach up nice and tall. Exhale, over to the right, left side body stretch. Inhale through center. Exhale, opposite side. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, cactus, goalpost arms. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, mini back bend. Inhale, reach up tall. Exhale, C curve into the spine, palms face each other. Take one more round at your own pace, using your breath to guide you. Lengthening on the inhales. Stretching on the exhales. And when you've completed that series, feet back, hands at heart center. Pausing here for 2 full cycles of breath. And when you're ready, inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Sweep the arms overhead. Exhale, hinge from the hips. Forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, halfway to lift. Exhale, step back into your downward facing dog. Just take a few breaths here to warm up your down dog. Maybe pedal out the feet, shake the head yes, shake the head no. Whatever feels right in your body. Eventually finding stillness here in that inverted V shape. Inhale, sweep the right leg up towards the sky. Exhale, knee to nose. Plant that foot between the palms as you lower the back knee down. Inhale, rise the torso and arms up. Anjaneyasana. Sinking down into that front hip. From here, we're going to come into exalted. So drop that right hand back to the left back thigh. So opposite hand to opposite leg touching here. Reach up nice and tall. through the left fingertips, belly engaged as you give yourself a slight back bend. Opening up through the front side of the body. Continuing to draw that right hip back. Option to stay here, or if you'd like to come into King Arthur, take a bend into the back leg, reach back for the foot. You can always bring your front hand down to the ground to give you some balance. If you need that support, or keep it up nice and tall. This is one of those poses where a strap or a towel can come in handy. If you've been taking my classes, you know I can't use a towel, so I'm not even going to show you this time. One more full cycle of breath wherever you're at. Release both fingertips surrounding that front foot. Straighten through the front leg, coming into your half splits. You can always bring your hands to blocks. They aren't quite meeting the earth, those pillows. Make sure you're flexing through the front toes, really getting into the back of that front right leg. 2 more cycles of breath. Maybe hinge a little more from the hips. Release the foot back into the earth. Step back into your downward facing dog. Toes meet at the back of the mat. Inhale, 3-legged dog. Lift the left leg to the sky. Exhale, sweep it through, knee to nose, and then plant it between the palms. Back knee lowers. Inhale. Sweep those arms up overhead. Anjaneyasana. Roll the shoulder blades down the back here as you release the ears. Lifting the crown of the head up. Coming into exalted, bring that left arm back to meet the right leg. Mini back bend here, still keeping your torso forward. Belly engaged. Lengthen through the front side of the body, then bend a little more back. Again, option to stay here or reach back for that foot. Giving yourself support on the earth, or if you'd like more of a challenge in your balance, reach up nice and tall. Should feel a nice stretch in the front of that right thigh. Two more cycles of breath here. Release the fingertips to the earth. Right toes back down if they were lifted. Straighten through the front leg, half splits. You really want to lengthen through the spine. Draw the left hip back and then fold forward. Flexing through those left toes. Opening up through the back side of the leg. One more nice full inhale through the nose. Longer, slower exhale through the nose. Release the foot back to the ground. Step back into your downward facing dog. Taking 2 cycles of breath here. In your down dog. Coming back into that shape. Reaching the heels down towards the earth. Perfectly fine if they don't meet. Inhale, sweep that right leg up towards the sky. Exhale, sweep it through. Keeping the fingertips to the earth. Rotate your back toes like you're going into Warrior 2. Pinky edge side of your foot parallel with the short edge of your mat. Keeping your fingertips engaged with the ground. Walk them more towards the middle of your mat behind this front heel. Reach your fingertips away from your hips as you send your sit bones back away from your fingertips. You should feel a stretch in the outside of the right glute hip area. Maybe even the front or the inner thigh on that back leg. Taking 5 more cycles of breath here. If you're starting to lose that Ujjayi breath, maybe come back to your counting. And then slowly walk your hands more through center. Rotate those right toes to point in the same direction as your back toes. Coming into Prasarita. Inhale, halfway to lift, flat spine. Exhale, fold forward, taking the arm variation of your choice. I'm going to reach for my outer ankles. Making sure you have more weight in the ball mounts of the feet as you send your hips away. Relax through the neck and the shoulders. Maybe shake the head yes, shake the head no. As the crown of the head slowly makes its way closer and closer to your mat. Micro bend into the knees if you feel any strain behind the knees. As you start to loosen up through the back side of the body, the head should be closer and closer to the ground. Release the fingertips directly underneath the shoulders. Inhale, halfway to lift. Exhale, walk them towards that back left foot. Rotate so you come into that Warrior 2 stance, opposite sides. We're on the opposite leg. Press your hips away from the fingertips. Feeling a nice deep stretch in that outer left hip, glute. See if you can reach a little further. Taking 3 more cycles of breath here. Walk your fingertips towards your left toes. We're going to heel toe that left foot across the body, coming into half pigeon pose. So bringing your shin parallel with the short edge of your mat, or maybe the heel comes closer to that right hip. We're going to start settling down onto our mat. So if you'd like to grab your socks, put them on. Now's the time. You won't be moving around too much. And when you're settled in, stay nice and high onto the fingertips. Chest is lifted, pressing the heart space forward. So your left knee should be in front. You're going to walk to the outside of that left thigh, taking a spinal twist here. Maybe gazing back over the left shoulder. Taking 3 more breaths in your twist. And walking your fingertips back through center. Releasing down wherever feels good to you. Maybe you come down onto your pillow, your blocks, your forearm. And let your body just relax here. You might not keep your proper form here anymore. You might rotate to one hip. Your back leg might pop out to the side. That's perfectly fine. You really want to make sure that you're relaxing through the lower body, letting your muscles and your fascia unwind here. Now our goal for this stretch is to be working on the lower body. But it doesn't hurt to get into the upper body. Let your shoulders relax. Release the jaw. Unfurrow the brow. Let your body just sink in. Almost like you're melting into your mat. Taking about 5 more cycles of breath here. Letting go of anything you're still holding on to. Take a scan of your lower body. Toes to your midline. And try to let everything relax. Slowly start to press up. Curl your back toes under, coming into your downward facing dog. Toes meet at the back of the mat. Just pedal out the feet here. Getting some blood flow back into that left side. Little bit of movement here. When you're ready, sliding that right leg through, coming into half pigeon on the other side, getting yourself settled in. Put one of my socks on at least. And when you've found where you want to be, reach up through the fingertips, press your heart space forward. lengthening through the spine. And walk your fingertips over towards the right, maybe onto a block, as you gaze back over your shoulder. Lifting the crown of the head up towards the sky as you twist a little deeper. And then releasing back to center, fold forward. Again, letting that lower body fall wherever it may. From twisting back, I had a little tension on my right side, so I'm just letting it go, releasing it before I settle in, holding here. I can tell today that I'm extra tight on my right side. I tend to sit on my right foot, knee bent, just like this when I work during the day. And it really starts to cause a lot of tension and knots in my hips, low back, even my hip flexors. So that's always something I think about when I get into this posture. And sometimes it helps me to remember to stop doing that for at least a few days. As we reach our halfway point, let's take 2 cleansing breaths together to let go of anything we're still holding on to. Nice full inhale through the nose. Audible exhale through the mouth. One more nice full inhale here. Take one more sip of air. As you exhale, feel everything sink deeper into your mat. Again, take that scan of the lower body, maybe even the upper body, but any points of tension, anything you're holding on to. Maybe take a few more cleansing breaths on your own, those audible exhales, to try and let it go. Two more full cycles of breath here. Coming back to that Ujjayi breath. We're going to press up from here on to the palms of the hands. Keeping that left leg exactly as it is. Slide the right leg back as you release down onto the belly. Settling in here, you're going to draw your elbows to be directly underneath your shoulders as you lift the heart up for Sphinx pose. So your arms are at an 11, fingertips spread out nice and wide, elbows directly underneath the shoulders. If you have low back tension, you can always bring your feet as wide as your mat, even a little bit wider. That should release some of that tension there. This is even still uncomfortable. Just lower your chest a little bit. Don't come so deep into your back bend. But if you're nice and open through the front side of the body, you can come into seal pose, lifting up onto the fingertips. So just take the variation that feels good to you. I always have my feet a little bit wider from all my sitting. I have a little bit of a tighter low back. Wherever you're at, roll the shoulder blades down the back. Gaze down the bridge of the nose. Tops of the feet and pelvis engaged with your mat. Holding here for 5 more rich cycles of breath. When you're ready, release the torso back down, arms back by the side, palms face up. Just release to one cheek if you need. Windshield wiper the legs. Bringing the legs back through center. Press into the palms, coming into embryo pose. Toes together to touch, knees touching. Release the torso on top of the thighs. Forehead comes to the earth. Fingers reaching back behind you. This should help you to reset your low back. So we just pause here for a few cycles of breath while I get my other sock on. Two more full, rich cycles of breath. Slowly roll up one vertebrae at a time. Head comes up last. We're going to walk our hands forwards. Sit bones come directly over the knees as we come into puppy pose, lengthening our fingertips towards the top of the mat. Releasing our chest down. You can bring the forehead to the ground or a pillow. Or if you're nice and open, bring the chin down to your mat. Opening up through the shoulders here. Holding here for 3 more cycles of breath. Walk your hands back in. Coming in to your tabletop position. Take 2 rounds of cat-cow together. Inhale, drop the belly towards the mat. Open through the heart. Exhale, round through the spine. One more. Inhale, drop the belly down. Gaze up. Exhale, chin to chest. We're going to come into a back bend on our knees. So go ahead and tuck those toes under. Lift the sit bones to be in the same line as the knees. If camel is within your practice, feel free to just go right on into it. But if not, I'm going to walk us through a couple of other variations. So if you have tension in your low back, back bends aren't quite your thing, you're going to bring your hands to your low back, fingertips pointing up or down. Draw your shoulders nice and close together, elbows close. Inhale as you lift the crown of the head up towards the sky. Exhale as you press those hips forward, engaging through the thighs and the glutes. Opening up through heart center. Only releasing the head back if that feels good to you. Wherever you're at, you want to make sure that your hips and your knees are in one line. So you shouldn't be leaning back here. It's compressing on your low back. Continue to press your hips forward. A couple of variations. If you do have a block, you can place it in between your legs and squeeze on it. That should help alleviate some of the crunching you might feel in your low back. Or if you'd like to get a little bit deeper into the stretch, you can always bring your hands back to your blocks on any level, but only if you can continue to press those hips forward. One straight line. And if you've gone into a variation that feels too intense for you, just come out of it. There's no need to hold it, no need to let your ego take over. It's about feeling good in your body as you come into your back bend. Rather than getting into the furthest variation of the pose that's possible, we want to hold this a little bit longer. So we don't want to be overly straining ourselves. Remember to continue to press those hips forward. Continue to lift heart center up towards the sky. Your hands are on your low back, elbows coming nice and close to each other. Taking 3 more rounds of breath here. Releasing out of whatever back bend you're in. You had your blocks sitting one or both off to the side as you release your sit bones to be in between your heels. Now you don't want to be sitting on your heels. So if your sit bones aren't quite meeting the earth, you can take your block, sit on that. You can take one of your pillows. As we come into our hero's pose, you want to make sure your knees are in alignment with your hips. And if this feels like deep enough of a stretch for you, go ahead and stay here. You should feel a stretch in the front of the thighs. If you'd like to go a little bit deeper, start to come into reclined hero's pose. Start to settle down, maybe onto the elbows. But if your knees start to lift off the mat, you've gone too far, press back up to a less deep variation. We're going to be holding here for a little bit, so go ahead and find what feels good to you. I'm going to place a pillow underneath me. I don't quite meet the earth, and that way I don't really have to hold myself up so much. Now you can just settle in here and relax. Letting the front of the body open up, the thighs, all the way to the chest. You can even reach the arms up overhead if you're fully on the ground, and reach for opposite elbows, lengthening through the upper body. Another nice variation is to massage your feet. They're nice and close to your hands. And this might give you something else to focus on. rather than the deep stretch that you're in. We're about halfway through on our hero's pose. So if you found that you've gone too deep, that you don't think that you can relax your muscles and hold the pose, just come a little bit out of it. It's not about holding it, like I said before. It's about opening up through the muscles. And if you're straining and struggling so hard, your muscles will only tense up. So do what feels good for you, what feels right in your body. Maybe close the eyes and come back to that counted breath. Maybe even increasing it to the count of 5 or 6 at this point. As you should have been practicing your Ujjayi breath for about 45 minutes now. Taking 5 more deep cycles of breath here. Slowly rising the torso back up from whatever variation you were in. Kick the legs out in front of you. Just pausing here for a cycle or 2 of breath. Letting some blood flow get back into the legs. And then start to windshield wiper the legs, side to side. Pausing anywhere that feels good to you. Maybe the next time you come to your left side, press the hips up towards the sky, lifting the sit bones off the earth. Lengthening out through the low back. And then switching to the opposite side. Sending the hips towards the sky. Releasing back down. So we come into double pigeon fire log. Right leg on the earth. Go ahead and stack the left leg on top. So you're not going to be in a cross-legged position. No crisscross applesauce. It's called fire log because your shins are directly stacked on top of each other. If you have a large gap in between that bottom right foot and that left knee, you can place a pillow there. You can place a block. Whatever feels good to you. For me, the way that my hip joints are, if I bend forward, my knee just naturally goes down. So I always start this posture, especially with my left leg up, by folding forward, but this is a deeper variation. So do what feels good to you, finding that spot that's nice. If double pigeon isn't within your practice, you can always do figure 4 on your back. Or maybe there's another hip variation or hip stretch that you'd like to get into. Feel free. This is your practice, your time. This is going to be our last long hold of the practice before we get into our cocktails, wine, beer. I preemptively prepared a Cosmopolitan. It's waiting for me in the fridge, and then we're getting takeout. We're trying to support local businesses on Friday evenings by going somewhere that's just located in San Diego, helping to make sure those businesses don't close down during this time. Fortis is also a small business within San Diego, so we appreciate your support during quarantine. We hope you're enjoying the classes. I know it gives me something to look forward to every Friday evening. I don't know if it's the deep stretch or that I've promised myself a cocktail, but either way, I'm happy. See if you can settle a little bit deeper. Maybe folding a little more forward. Taking 3 more cycles of breath here. Releasing out of this as you switch sides, coming directly onto the opposite side, right leg on top of left. Settling in where it feels good to you, or if you're on figure 4 on your back, just switching sides, and then taking the variation of your choice. Maybe hinging at the hips, pressing deeper into that outer right hip. You might even feel it in your hip flexors. I usually do with my bottom leg. So make sure you're not too aggressive on that hip flexor. If it's really starting to agitate you, pull a little bit back. Those will be sore for quite a while. They're a little bit sensitive. Sometimes placing a pillow in between your 2 legs can help you from putting too much weight on your bottom leg and pressing into that hip flexor. As we hold here a bit longer, maybe come back to that intention, the reason that you're here today. Maybe something that you're thankful for, something good that happened this week, or something you're looking forward to over the weekend. I'm hoping the weather forecast is correct and we won't have rain tomorrow. I can go for a run, get the dogs out. We're being penned up basically all week. We can take a look at our garden, see what's left of it. It's been raining so hard, we had some of our lemons knocked off our tree. As we take about 5 more cycles of breath here, see if there's anything else you can let go of. Maybe even some tension in the shoulders. Maybe you're clenching the jaw. Remove the tongue from the roof of the mouth as you settle in. And then slowly release out, bringing the soles of the feet onto your mat. Fingertips pointing towards the toes. We're going to press up into a reverse tabletop, lifting those hips up towards the sky, dropping the head if that feels good on the neck. Release the sit bones back down to the earth. And then press up one more time. Opening up through the shoulders, through the hips. When you're ready, releasing the sit bones back to the earth. Legs come out nice and long as you release down onto your back. Preparing for your final resting pose, your Shavasana. Maybe taking a little bit of movement here into the legs, settling them in to relax here. Close the eyes. Staying here in your Shavasana as long as you'd like. Taking these last few minutes for yourself, maybe even the next 15. I've got my Cosmopolitan already. I'm very excited to drink it. I hope you all enjoyed your deep stretch class today, that you also have a drink in mind, that you've got ready waiting for you. Again, stay here as long as you'd like. Settle in. Thank you for joining me today. Cheers to all of you, and namaste.